Welcome back, you guys. Today we're going to talk about rhino iguanas. These are both rhino iguanas. They're found on the island of Hispaniola in the Caribbean, which is shared by the Dominican Republic and Haiti. They get the name rhino iguana because, like that mammal, the rhino, these guys have a cool protrusion of horns on the front of their head right there. Now these guys are not full size yet. They're actually going to get a little bit bigger. They're looking for some treats right here, which I brought up. So these guys are omnivores. As adults, they're pretty much going to be more herbivores, but they will eat protein as well. These guys are more of a terrestrial lizard. So what they like to do is they typically will create a burrow of some sort, and that's where they'll kind of sleep and go to reprieve at nighttime. But during the day, they can be seen climbing around on the ground. They'll climb up the trees. They have these really long toes. If you were to see a green or red iguana, their toes are even longer than these guys because they live predominantly up in the trees. They're more of an arboreal lizard. So as you notice, they're sitting here eating their food right now, but they're not actually using their teeth. They're using their tongue to actually stick it to their little food items and bring it into their mouth. And the reason they do this is that they were eating off the ground where there's sand and other debris. If they get too much sand, they can get impaction in their gut. So this ensures that they get mostly just their food that they're eating. So right here they've got a mixture of, well, had a mixture of blueberries and apples. They love hibiscus flowers. These guys, iguanas, are actually pretty unique in that they can actually recognize their owners. They do have a visible ear, just like all lizards do. Right on the side of their head right here, you're going to see a round scale. It's a thin piece of skin, much like a drum would be, so it picks up vibration. They don't really hear high-pitched noises as much as low tones. These guys live an average, believe it or not, of about 20 to 30 years, but they can even live longer than that. Now the males are pretty territorial when it comes to their area that they live in. Matter of fact, they have pores on the inside of their legs as they climb around and go over rocks and trees and stuff. These pores that you'll see on the bottom of his leg right there emit a waxy substance. So as they climb around, it coats that area, and as you see, as they're walking around and they're actually tasting, they can get a sense of smell. Just like snakes use their tongue to smell, lizards also use their sense of taste to help them smell as well. So as he's licking like that, he's actually smelling and kind of looking for more food. They like a lot of different dark vegetation, which has a lot of vitamins and nutrients. This happens to be kale as well as escarole. They're both very nutritionally dense food items. Now these guys do shed. Younger iguanas shed more frequently, but these guys will shed usually seasonally. So twice a year they'll shed. Once in the springtime, which they're going through right now, and then once towards the end of the summertime. So we're hoping this year, she's at age where she's 10 years old now. She's actually laid 3 clutches of eggs, 1 each year. So we're hoping this year these will be viable. The last 2 clutches of eggs weren't viable. They weren't fertilized. So these guys, when they court, they do an interesting dance. So the male will actually kind of bob his head and he'll open his mouth, and if she's receptive, he'll actually go ahead and mate with her. If she's not, she's a pretty aggressive female, so she'll actually dominate him by biting him back and letting him know that she's not receptive. So these guys at full size will get about 4.5 to 5 feet for the males. Females stay on the smaller edge, usually about 3.5 to 4.5 feet. And they have this really cool eyelid right here. Just like gators, they have a secondary eye lens on the inside. When you pet her head like that, you'll actually see her blink, and she can close that first eyelid, and it acts like a pair of swim goggles. These guys are very good swimmers. They actually will use their body, put their legs kind of to their side, and then they use this tail and kind of swirl it around in the water to make them go forward. They can hold their breath for about 2 minutes underwater, and these guys will also, they have the ability to not only swim and dive down, but they can drink salt water, and it doesn't dehydrate them. They have a really cool gland right in the top of their, the roof of their mouth right here, and every once in a while you'll hear what sounds like a sneeze from an iguana, and what they're doing is getting rid of the excess sodium in the water. So whether tap water or whether it's ocean water, they can drink it and they just get rid of that excess salt. So these guys have something that's really cool. If you've ever heard of a lizard saying they have a third eye, it's not an eye like the ocular cavity right here. It's actually a scale right here on the top of the head. And what that does is it allows them to actually get a sense of light that comes through. So if a predator, such as a bird of prey, was flying overhead and went like this, they would automatically catch their attention because they'd see the change in the light to dark, that shadow flying over. So that's one thing that that's used for. The other thing that these guys have is right up here on the top of their head, kind of looks like their brains protruding out. Those are fat deposits. When there's food not prevalent, say during the fall or cooler months, what they do is they live off the stored fat on the top of their head right there and on their tail as well. Now, as you can tell, these guys look very similar, but they are sexually dimorphic. The males are generally larger when we're talking about monitors or lizards like these guys, and the females are a little bit smaller. Now, on the side of their head right here, if you can see, she's kind of got these little things that are fat deposits as well. Those are called jowls, so that's something that iguanas have as well. That makes them a little bit unique. The males have a much bigger one, as well as this big flap of skin right here. He doesn't really want me to touch it, but they're able to push that out. It's called a dewlap, and it makes their head look quite a bit larger than it normally would. So that's it. That's some ways that they would scare away predators. The other thing that you're going to notice is these guys are shedding, okay? It's super important that they have high humidity when they're shedding. If they don't and their skin gets caught, you can notice right here on her back, she's actually got a couple of the scales right here, the spines that are smaller. It's probably that there wasn't enough humidity, and so what happened is as that scale came off, part of the actual spike came off with it. Now, these guys don't have teeth like you and I do. They have a serrated jaw. What I mean by that is that if you felt a butter knife and you feel how it's kind of rough towards the edges, that's what their jaw is lined up. It's a bone with a serrated jawline. So I wanted to introduce you to our friends because I realized I forgot to tell you their names. This is Zeus right here, and this is Athena. And we're super excited. Hopefully this year we'll be able to kind of go into her egg box in a couple months and we'll find some eggs in there. All right, well, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. I hope you learned some fascinating facts about our friends the rhino iguana, and I hope you guys tune in and subscribe to our channel and check out our new episodes coming up. Thank you so much.